The first beheading Caravaggio painted is also the quietest. Judith's face shows no fury, only focus. The blood hasn't even spattered her collar. He makes violence feel inevitable, necessary. But look at the maid. She's ready with the sack as if this is routine. That's the strange calm before his own storm, because decades later, Caravaggio would paint his own severed head, sent to the Pope as a plea for pardon. Every beheading he painted was a mirror. Now meet Saint Simon. He holds a saw, the instrument of his martyrdom, but Caravaggio doesn't show the blood. Instead, we see an old man lost in thought, the saw resting like a question. Why paint a saint with his own death weapon, yet refuse to show the act? Because Caravaggio understood the anticipation of violence is more haunting than the blow. He learned this in the streets of Rome, where every quarrel could end in a blade. The calling of St. Matthew, a dark room, a table, tax collectors counting coins. Then Christ points, not dramatically, just a finger, and Matthew looks up as if he's been expecting this. Caravaggio paints the moment. Before everything changes, that light slashing across the wall isn't divine. It's real light. From a real window. He'd learned that God doesn't need halos when he can use shadows. This painting made his name. It almost made him respectable, but respectability never suited him. Here's Judith again. Same story, different painting. This time, the maid is younger, the sword is longer, and Judith's expression. She seems exhausted. Caravaggio painted her twice because he couldn't get it right, or maybe because he needed to feel the blade again. Each time, he asks the same question: what does it take to cut a man's head off? He'd answer that question soon enough, with Ranuccio Tomassoni's blood on the cobblestones. A skull, a red robe, an old man gripping his chest. Penitent St. Jerome isn't mourning, he's meditating on the skull. Caravaggio paints the weight of guilt. Jerome's hand presses against his heart as if it aches. Why does a saint feel remorse? Because Caravaggio believed that even the holy carry darkness. This painting hangs in a monastery, but its shadows belong to a man who already knew he'd need forgiveness. And here, the beheading he would sign. Caravaggio's only signed work, the beheading of St. John the Baptist. His name is written in the blood pooling beneath the saint's neck. Why sign in blood? Because Caravaggio knew this painting was a confession. He had already killed by now. No, this is 1608 after the murder. He fled to Malta and painted this for the cathedral. It's his masterpiece of violence. The executioner pauses. The old woman covers her face, and the light falls on nothing but the act. Look closer at that executioner. Caravaggio painted him with the same muscular back as his own studio models. But there is something else, the blade. It's not a sword, it's a knife, small and intimate. He needed us to feel the precision. The Baptist's body goes limp, and Salome holds out the platter like a waiter. Caravaggio made sacred horror mundane, because for him, violence was every day. Now, a Sibyl, painted by Caravaggio's follower, Secco, the turban, the quill, the scroll, she's reading the future. But Caravaggio didn't believe in fortune-telling. He believed in the present moment, in the flesh. This painting shows how his style spread after he fled. Secco had learned from the master, dark background, single light source, a figure lost in thought. The Sibyl seems to know something Caravaggio didn't, that he'd never returned to Rome. But before the darkness, there was music. The musicians, 4 young men lost in a rehearsal. Cupid offers grapes, but no one notices. Caravaggio painted this for a cardinal, but the faces are his street friends. One boy looks directly at us. He's bored, waiting for the song to end. This is Caravaggio's early Rome, raw, sensual, alive. He'd soon trade these lutes for swords. Boy with a basket of fruit. He's bare, chested, offering a harvest of figs, grapes, peaches. But look at the leaves. Some are wilted. Caravaggio painted decay inside abundance. The boy's expression is guarded. He's not giving, he's showing. What's he hiding? Perhaps the same thing Caravaggio hid, that youth fades, beauty rots. He painted this just after arriving in Rome, broke and hungry. The fruit is gorgeous, but the shadows are ready to reclaim it. And then the bite. Boy bitten by a lizard. A red-haired boy yanks his hand back. A lizard clamped on his finger. A rose behind his ear. A vase of flowers. Beauty disrupted by pain. Caravaggio captures the exact instant of surprise. Why? A lizard? Because it's small and unexpected, like the violence that would erupt from him over a tennis match. This boy's shock is Caravaggio's own, forever startled by his own temper. This is the canvas that changes everything. David with the head of Goliath. David holds a sword and a severed head, but the head is Caravaggio's own face. He paints himself as the dead giant, mouth open, eyes rolled back. He's the victim. Why? Ohoti Bosandi, because this was his plea for pardon after killing Ranuccio Tomassoni. He sent it to the Pope, saying, "I am already dead, forgive me." The painting is a mirror. The killer becomes the killed. But even in exile, he painted the Madonna, Madonna dei Palafrenieri. The Virgin and Child crush a serpent with Saint Anne watching. Christ steps on the snake's head, but his foot is bare, vulnerable. Caravaggio makes salvation look like a struggle. He painted this for a Roman church, but they rejected it. Too much dirt under Mary's feet, too human. He was already a fugitive by then, painting saints who looked like street women. Conversion of St. Paul. Paul lies on his back, arms outstretched, blinded by light. The horse is huge. Indifferent, it doesn't know it's part of a miracle. Caravaggio never shows the divine, he shows the fall. Paul's eyes are shut, seeing nothing. That's conversion, losing everything to gain faith. Caravaggio understood that kind of collapse. He'd lost his home, his reputation, his freedom. Crucifixion of St. Peter, an old man hoisted upside down on a cross. Not yet dead, the executioners strain, their muscles bulging. Peter looks at us calm. Caravaggio painted this for the Ceresi Chapel, alongside the Conversion. Two saints meeting death in opposite ways, one blinded by grace, one lifted by agony. Which one felt like his own? He didn't know yet. Saint Catherine of Alexandria. She holds a sword, her wheel of torture beside her. But she's not suffering. She's looking straight at us, confident. Caravaggio painted her with a halo, but he modeled her on a real woman, perhaps a courtesan. She's serene, knowing. Why does she smile? Because she's already won. Caravaggio gave his martyrs a strange peace, as if death were a release. He was beginning to long for it. The crowning of thorns. Christ sits, head bowed, while two men force the crown onto his head. One wears a black suit, a contemporary soldier, not a Roman guard. Caravaggio brought the passion into his own time. The thorns aren't just sharp, they're real, pressing into skin. He painted this in Naples, hiding. Every prick was his own punishment. The flagellation, Christ tied to a column, beaten by two men. Another woman watches with a basin. The light catches the whip's arc. Caravaggio doesn't glorify the pain. He makes it feel endless. Stroke after stroke. He painted this after someone slashed his face in a brawl. He knew how it felt to be flayed. Again the crown of thorns, but tighter. Christ's face is hidden, hands pressing the reeds. The tormentor's fingers dig into his scalp. Caravaggio painted multiple versions as if he couldn't stop reliving the moment. He was obsessed with suffering, his own and Christ's. By now, he was running out of places to hide. The Cantarelli Chapel, 3 paintings in one room. The calling, the inspiration of St. Matthew, and the martyrdom of St. Matthew. There his first public commission, his breakthrough. But look at the martyrdom, a nude executioner, a fleeing crowd, and Matthew on the ground accepting the sword. Caravaggio painted this while still rising. He didn't know he'd one day live that scene. The Cerasi Chapel, 2 Caravaggios flank an altarpiece. The Conversion and the Crucifixion, one falling, one rising. The chapel is a mirror of his life, always between being knocked down and lifted up. He painted these on the run, knowing he'd never see them installed, but they're still there, waiting for him. Bacchino Mulatto, a young man with a vine wreath, holding grapes, but he looks sick, pale lips, weary eyes. Some say it's Caravaggio's self-portrait after a fever. He painted himself as Bacchus, god of wine, but a dying Bacchus. The grapes are rotting. He knew he was running out of time. Another self-portrait as Bacchus. This time he holds white grapes, looks over his shoulder. The fruit is perfect, but his expression is wary. He's offering himself to us, but with caution. This is Caravaggio at his most vulnerable, a god who knows he'll die. And again, same pose, same grapes, but darker. The shadows close in. He repeats himself because he's trying to remember who he was before the murder. But the face is older, hollower. He's not Bacchus anymore. He's a ghost. The last self-portrait, Bacchino Mulatto again. But now we see the full figure. He's half naked, holding grapes, the fruit of life and death. Caravaggio painted this when he was dying, fever, wounds, lead poisoning. He died at 38, alone on a beach.